to be back with our next talk by Ramona Biscoveanu. Ramona is a senior developer at SAP and web developer with a big passion for data visualization and Vue. She'll describe some new exciting features of Vue 3, like portals, teleport, fragments, and more. So let's invite Ramona with our virtual applause. Hi, Ramona.
Hello.
It's nice to see you today. From which country are you joining us?
France.
Oh, nice. Almost neighbors. So I bet our participants are excited to hear you, so let's not keep them waiting.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here too, so thank you so much to the organizers.
Yeah,
And
thank you
thank
so
you,
much.
for attending a conference on a Saturday, so this is huge.
Thanks. I think we can start.
Perfect. Okay, so thank you for joining me here to share some of the exciting features. This is some that I find them exciting in Vue 3. So I didn't know it's gonna be an introduction, so I'm just gonna go briefly. My name is Ramona Biscoveanu. You can find me on social media with Codes of Ra. I'm actually originally from Romania, so that's more neighboring. But at the moment, I'm based on the Côte d'Azur in France, which is usually sunny, but not today when it's kind of like the first day when we have more relaxed confinement rules. So I think the government kind of talked with the weather, to be cloudy and rainy and stay more indoors. And some facts about me, since moving to France, I got very into cheese and wine. And since all the global pandemic, I'm a very proud plant lady. So my house is slightly transforming into a jungle. But you do what you have to do to survive. And for me, it's a jungle. But let's go and talk about the Vue 3. That's why I am here, right? I have to say that the Vue 3 was the most exciting thing that happened for me this year. And, when this tweet was out there, I was like, okay, this is it. This is the time. Because for me, this was an opportunity to go to my team and say, okay, it's official now. Let's go start learning. Let's start actually using it. And yes, I'm taking my tech news from Twitter. I guess that's most of you, right? And this is the GIF that I think the Vue land was looking like in that day. And with a big party, I think we all kind of celebrated, right? Because we've been all looking forward to the release of Vue 3. But let's jump into some of the features, right? And I'll start with TypeScript because I know this is going to be a game changer for lots of us, and I think for the community. Vue internals were rewritten in TypeScript, which this means better TypeScript support. And I don't know if you tried till now TypeScript with a Vue in Vue 2, but I have a very sad story. A couple of years ago, we tried to develop our component library in SAP with Vue. Maybe also our setup wasn't the best. We tried to use TypeScript, TSX, and Vue, and I have to say that the conclusion was to rewrite everything in single file components. And even now, we're still using that setup because it was much easier and it was more beginner friendly, and we could get more people involved into the component library. So I'm pretty sure with this better TypeScript support is going to be more exciting things coming up to the landscape. And I do know that using TypeScript in our libraries, it's also more friendlier for maintainers. So maybe that's a question for Ivan and see if he sees the change in that. But moving to another one, reactivity. I like to say that in Vue, we have lots of magic, all the nice features. And I think in Vue 3, it got even better. So, in Vue 2, we had all these caveats on the reactivity. You may have noticed, when working with objects or arrays, when adding or removing an object to object property, or when you are setting a new array item or modifying the length, it didn't work by default. When I say by default, just the reactivity magic to work, you had to do something for it to be reactive. So I have here some examples, just some, will not go through all, how it was looking in Vue 2 and how now looks in Vue 3, and you'll see how amazing it is. So when you were setting a new array item, we had to use view set, or I know there's other possibilities too, but in my projects, we like to use view set. And you're sending the array, the index where you wanted to set the new array item, and the value that you wanted to set. But in Vue 3, it's way much simpler. See, like you just work with arrays and it's reactive. And I think this is, again, it's a game changer for people, coming in new to Vue, because you already know this working with arrays, right? So it's the default that I was saying previously. And looking at how I was looking in Vue 2 when you were adding a new object property. Again, the view set your object, the property that you wanted to set, and the value. And guess what? In Vue 3, as you guess, it's just like working with objects. You don't have to do anything different. So I think this is pretty cool, and it's just more intuitive, I will say, because at least for me, as when I started with Vue, the whole thing with objects, I was expecting just to work. Don't ask me why, but I was expecting to work. And you spend some time figuring out how the reactivity works at the beginning in Vue, but now it just works, and I think it's just amazing. And moving into, I will have to say this is my favorite from Vue 3, and it's style variables. It's still in RFC stage, and I put here the label on the documentation. It says it's experimental, and I checked the pull request, and it says that it's final comment stage. I'm not very sure what it means, but what I understand is they got all the comments from the community, and the core team agreed on, I guess, on how it's going to be implemented, and which means it's not a final, so it might be breaking changes in the APIs. But due to my nature of work, the things that I do at ECP, because I work as a part of an innovation team, so we get to work with lots of prototypes. For me, these things doesn't matter. Like if it's RFC and it's available and I can work with, I can do it in my project. So honestly, I already been using it. And what it means that till now we didn't have a way to inject, let's say, update the styles dynamically at runtime based on the component state. But now, making use of the CSS variables, we can do that. And you've seen I said CSS variables, so you have to keep in mind that it's making use of the CSS variables. So be aware of the browser support. Even though I think nowadays the browsers are doing a better job at supporting the CSS variables, but we know that one that probably is gonna die before supporting them. So if you have to support that, sorry for you. So how it works, the syntax you see, it's similar. You have the template, the script, the style, right? The classical single file component. But what are the key elements here? And I'll have to say this is the initial one that started with, and just wanted to show to you where kind of it evolved now. So the keyword is the vars that you kind of send to the style. And when you send the expression with your state variable, right? And you just bind it to the var in the style. But oh yeah, and I have a tiny example. I feel like these things, when you type and things change, it's like the best example for reactivity and to win people. So that's what the example was doing, and how you're kind of using in the scope. Of course, you can use it with a style scope, but it looks a bit different. And I put a screenshot on how it looks in the developer tools, because there's the risk of linking CSS to the child components. So then you have to. You don't have, because it's already prefixed with the component index. So you could see that there's a difference between scope and unscoped, how it was looking. So through comments from community, I guess, and more thinking, it got to another version that now it's not using the vars anymore in the style. You just have to bind it with vbind. And I will say, let's look to the next one. I would say it's way much cleaner, because in the previous one it wasn't visible what's the reactive property. Like you couldn't say, okay, it's the color that is the one that's changing. And I think it also kind of unifies the scope and unscoped ones, because like they now look the same. And yeah, that's kind of very exciting one. Moving to another exciting one, Fragments, which is it might sound complicated, but it's not. But I have a tiny story. You know, in when you start developing your components in Vue, and you start doing, I'll create this very awesome element, and you open your divs, because this is how we work with lots of divs. And then you're like, okay, but actually I need a second very awesome element as the first one. So what I'm gonna do, I do my very awesome second element again, and okay, and then I'm like, oh, but I need to wrap this, and I like to call it the div sandwich. And I put it in a new div, because you may have experienced this. You get an error saying that it's allowed only to have one element as the root. So guess what? In Vue 3, you're not gonna get that error anymore, and you're allowed to have as many divs you want. Not only divs, of course, more elements you want under the template, so you can have multiple roots, which is very awesome, I will say, even though that's in some of my examples, it's just like removing one div from the multitudes of divs I'm using. I think it's way much cleaner, and it's way much nicer for everyone, after all. And because I like this so much, I have a very cute GIF saying that, it's very good reason to have alcohol. And I'm pretty sure for you it's much later than me, but I'm in France, so I can start at 2 and have wine. Okay, let's jump to another one, which is teleport. I'm still, it was called portals back in the days, and I'm of those people that gets time till they, upgrade to the new terminology. I'm still using sometimes portals. So what teleport is doing, of course, it's doing what the name says. It moves an element from one place to another one. And we have situations when our component UI fits more in one place, but the logic more in another place. And we have all these things that do, we use global state and lots of CSS and stuff, and we make it work. But with teleport, it's way much easier. And I have here some use cases when you can use it. And of course, the models, I don't know about you, but for me, the models are a pain all the time. Notifications and drop-down menus, it's a very good use case for that. And also when, you kind of have issues on how you use, the set index, and when your components need to be in a particular order in the DOM tree, the teleport is a very, very good use case for that. And I think I have an example. Yes. So for the teleport, what's important is it needs a source and a target. And how you define that, you just put into the tool, like the target where it has to go. And it's recommended, and if you used it, you may have seen some of the warnings in the console. It's recommended to be placed outside of the component, and even outside, let's call it, of the Vue app. So it's recommended to put it just before the close tag of the body in the index HTML in the public folder, which is, all the use cases you'll have for the models, at least in my case. In some of them, even in the data visualizations, because when you work with like WebGL stuff and it takes all over your screen, but then when you interact with your data and you need to pop things all over the place, sometimes it gets very complicated, and you have to do lots of CSS stuff just to make appear where it is. But now with teleport, it's way much easier. And another use cases could be also when you have like layouting. For example, I don't know, you want to push something to your header or to a footer or to the side. It's exactly the things that I kind of need to do sometimes in the data visualization dashboards. So that's why I'm saying it's very useful, but it also could be made like abused, and I will get maybe later on into that. And I have here an example which is on Code Sandbox. Oh, and it's loaded. Sometimes it's slow. So I created an example, very tiny example with the model. It's the one that I had it in my previous slide. So, as I was saying, the pain of models. So, you click and you get your teleported component in here, which is great. It's what you wanted. Oh yeah, and some changes, because you may have noticed here is like in Vue 3, even the API of how we create our Vue app changed a bit, but that's a bit of sidetracking. So I just made use of the Vue create app. It's nothing fancy. So you'll see like I have my button that kind of triggers, and then the same thing that I was saying, you have the teleport where it goes. And of course you can use state variables in here, as you do with each of the components. But what's interesting, and I want to show you, I really hope it works here, is how it looks into the DOM, right? Like into the body, because I said go to the body. So when I click here and I open it, you see I get my model here, which is not in the app because I said it not to go there, and it's just before the body tag, the closed tag. Another option of the teleport is that you can disable it, and I will disable it. I recommend it to type in Vue like the live things, but I love it, love the extreme things. And when we see, just got into the app, so it's there, and this is kind of, and you get the nice things, that it's teleport and nice things, and you even notice that the style change, and when you start working with this, you kind of understand some of the things, how it works. Okay, let's go back to the presentation. And this is teleport, and you see it's definitely very useful because now you don't have to split your component in two when you need to do things like this, to split the UI and the logic from, and also you don't have to use like the global set and kind of say it, oh yeah, no, do this when I say that and do that, which is great, right? Like I do feel like it's great. I'm just having a timer and my computer, my phone turned off. I want to know for sure how fast or slow I'm talking. And I think another thing, because I have notes, I'm very classical because I have just one screen, so I had to write by hand things to be sure I'm not missing anything. Another thing is that you can send multiple elements, to the same target, like to the body, for example. You can send as many elements you want. You can teleport as many components, elements, or whatever you want to call it, which is great, right? And another cool one is Suspense. And I have a J for that, and the bad jokes, what it is, and I'm not gonna say, I'm just gonna wait. But it's a bad joke, so let's look at how Suspense looks. I would like to say that Suspense is like a very special component into Vue. And if you look at here, like it has two slots, right? The default and fallback. And I like to say it's very, very useful when you work with lots of async type of things. In my case, at SAP, we have like lots of data, and we work with lots of tables and things like that. And some of these are very slow, I have to say. And the UX is not impressive when you kind of do that, And for example, we have a project where we have to load a Unity instance, and I don't know how it's for other people with supercomputers, but on mine, it takes it takes even up to 1 minute sometimes to load. So if you leave your user just like looking at the blank screen, it's not like very good UX. So here's when Suspense kind of comes into place. And of course, in Vue 2, we had, tools of doing that. But I think it's way much cleaner here because, in the fallback, you put what you want to kind of till you wait, your loading screen. In the default, you put your component that you want it to be rendered, that, has all the async data calls maybe, or things like that. So I think it's way much cleaner in this way because I have from this project a particular example where there's one instance where we have, I don't know how many, but is loading header, is loading footer, is loading table one, and it's very ugly. Like if you look at all that thing, it's also very hard to maintain it because every time when someone new comes into the project, it's kind of complicated, because if they're not used to the way you kind of did the things. But with Suspense, it's way much cleaner. And I have an example here, and you may have noticed, here I'm using I'm calling an async component, and you see maybe the API changed for this one in Vue 3. It's not a lot of change. It's very well documented, so we'll not look into that. But you see in my default slot, I put my async component that I wanted to render it, and then into the fallback, I want to share a loader. I have this loader component that I want to share till my sync component loads. and it happens exactly what you expect it will happen. You get like the loader, and then you get your application, and you may notice the advantages of doing it this way, maybe because you have like I like to say a more structured way coming from the Vue on how to deal with this. And from my experience, it's also easier to explain it to beginners, because sometimes for them all the VIFs, VShow and stuff like that, it wasn't very easier. And I want to make just a mention about the composition API, because I know this has been a very talked one in the Vue ecosystem, and I'm pretty sure Philip and Alex did a very good presentation on that. So I'm not go very into details. I can say only from my experience, the ups and downs of like trying to we're not trying to implement, we're trying to kind of switch to migrate to Vue 3 on a project now. And I'll say it's very complicated for juniors and people coming kind of starting with Vue, but it's also complicated at the same time for people that have more experience with Vue, because they think in a way, and switching to composition API is kind of hard at the beginning. But it's definitely, I do see the power in our big projects where we have big components with lots of logic and lots of things happening in there. And at some point, it's kind of hard to, do all the stuff and make the parts reusable. But with composition API, definitely, and especially on my data visualization project, I have to say it's a life changer, definitely. Like it's just great. And I'm very curious also if you start using it, if you're using it, and what's your experience, because definitely there's a learning curve in there, and I guess it depends on personal and individual way. These are not new features, are just changes that I just want to mention them because they are worth mentioning. There are no filters, and I'm probably in the minority in Vue ecosystem that I was using filters in most of my projects, basically. And this because coming from an internal framework in SAP, we had filters, and it was actually the same syntax and the Vue. So for me, it was just easy. Things were making sense. But now it's definitely way much easier to take decision between filters and computer properties. You just use computer properties. So just wanted to mention this. Another one is the change in Vue model. I think it got way much better, and this is because apart from the fact that the syntax changed, so we'll not go much into that, you can have multiple bindings to the Vue model, which is for the same component, which is amazing. Because in my case, when working with forms, working with forms is not my strong forte. Like it's not. So I have lots of forms to work with in one project network, and it's just so complicated for me. So definitely this is going to help me, because now you can have as many Vue models you want to your component, and I can already see how much cleaner it's going to be into my components, just have things like that. And I'm also curious about your take on this, if you see the benefit. And as always, I was expecting, I talked way much faster, and I probably forgot lots of things to say. I'm getting close to my end. I was supposed to have other things to say, but I want to give a big shout out to the Vue Docs team, because they did again an amazing job. You'll find all this way much better explained on the documentation website, and they even went the extra length and did a style guide for us, which is again very, very great. And the migration guide, I'll have to say, it's been very useful in my case when we are in the process of migrating a very, very big project into Vue 3. Because it's also, you just give it to the people and they read it there, and they do the work, because, the Vue Docs team did a great job of documenting it very right. So this kind of all I have from my side, and because I finished way much faster than I was expecting, I think the double espresso before this wasn't a good idea. I want to also share, throw the question at you. What you find exciting in Vue 3, and what things you worked with and you found them exciting, or what are the things you want to try and see how they work. So this is kind of all from my side. Thank you very much. You'll find me on social media if you have questions, or I don't know, share things.
Thanks for such an amazing overview, Ramona. This was very interesting and useful
Thank you.
for me personally, and probably for those who are newcomers to the Vue 3. I'm going to answer your question first regarding the what's kind of exciting thing I found in Vue 3. And obviously, that's a composition API, which is a big change. It's a
Yeah.
probably game changer for the whole community, and especially the Vuex team, who is like probably thinking like, okay, we need to change we need to find something new to do in most cases. But also these portals and suspense is such an amazing thing. Like it makes life way more simple for us as a developers and improves code readability a lot. I have several questions to you as well. The first one is about the mixins. Do you think they are still relevant?
Honestly, I never liked mixins, so I have a very strong opinion about those. I don't think I'm the right person to ask because I never liked them. So I think in the whole composition API scenarios are not, from my perspective, are not relevant anymore. So I know, because I also have people in my team that they love the mixins. So that's the thing. I think it depends on your experience a lot.
What is your argument over the mixins? I mean, this is very good that you are opinionated over this because, like, we can find the truth in the middle, probably. So, what is your arguments against the mixins? Like, why they are bad?
It's not exactly why they're bad. The thing is, like at work, that's the thing. I have a very unique kind of type of experience at work. I work with lots of interns, so each year we get different interns, and ramping them up. And most of them, they are students, so they have no web development experience. So when they come on our team and our projects, they start learning Vue or whatever projects there are, So I have to say that explaining the mixings and how to use them in the project has been all the time the most, not exactly the most complicated thing, but some of the complicated thing for them. And I can't really say why, because maybe the lack of the experience maybe in the field or something. I don't know. Maybe the way we are explaining it to them, it's I don't know. That's why I'm saying I'm opinionated from that point of view because it's just a unique experience.
It's about the learning curve, actually, yeah. And actually touches a bit the next question. What was the hardest concept to get for you learning the new Vue 3 features? And there is probably obvious answer, but maybe you faced something beside the
I think it was
API.
No, on the composition API, what was hard, and I think this even with my colleagues, was just switching the mindset of how we split the component, because I feel when you're starting to build the component and, do the whole abstraction thing in the single file component, you kind of had one mindset, right? But like switching to the composition API was, to put the reusability first, because that's what we say in my team, it was a bit not exactly complicated, but it was like a learning, and we're still learning actually, because we're doing stuff and then rewriting. But what's good at my job is that because sometimes we work on prototypes and we don't have fixed deadlines, and we do innovation type of projects, we have all the time, so we can rewrite sometimes a project as many times we want.
That's just a perfect way to learn something inside out.
Exactly. Yeah, definitely, because when I started, I went in February at Vue Amsterdam conference, and after that, got back home, of course, as each person does, and start building stuff, and I tried, I was like, let's go very deep into the composition API. And if now I look at my code from there, I'm like, okay, no, I can redo that. So definitely you see, the growth as you, actually you write more code, that's, I think, the thing with everything.
And since you are trying a lot, and you most probably, like, part of this innovation team, sees a wider context, I would be happy to hear your opinion. Like, where's this ship going? Like, where we are as a Vue community, like what's the next stop. And that would be the great question for Evan as well. But before the interview with him, would be great to hear your opinion, because as a strong user of the project. Yeah,
I do think looking even as my team, because like my team, I think it's a very good example. A couple of years ago, I don't know, 3 years or 4 years ago, we were still using an SAP UI framework that everyone was hailing. I shouldn't say that, but that was happening because the user experience was very bad. And, that's what happens in corporate, I guess. And I was trying to sell Vue into my team, but no one was very keen on trying it. And I have to say that now, I think 95% of our projects are only Vue projects, at least what's everything front end. And I think this kind of shows how, even the trust and the community is kind of growing. And with this, I think the framework is going to be more powerful. And if you look at even what companies are kind of using Vue now, even that it's more like broader. Because I don't know for a fact in ACP there are products out there that are built with Vue. And I think that's kind of like, it's like the relationships, right? It's like the trust you put into your framework of choice. It helps, of course, the framework to grow. And, because it's also about investments and other stuff.
Thanks.
I don't know if
that was very interesting. Yeah, that's very good. I like it. I like it personally. And there is several questions from the community as well.
That's good.
You probably.
I see a Romanian. Sorry, I'm seeing a Romanian mulțumesc, so that's very satisfying. It's a thank you.
Yeah, nice. So, what migration problems you faced at this point? Like, you probably did some migration already.
Yeah, I'll say again, it's the learning curve. And because we are a big team, we have a suite of, 6 or 7 applications that are actually, the same product. So it's quite a big team. And the fact that not kind of everyone ramped up in the same time on the new features, it takes a lot. Like the whole process of reviewing PRs and everything, it's a bit much longer, and that's the only kind of problem we faced at the moment. Because one of the things that I'm working on is using the teleport for all our models, because we have lots of models on one of our tools.
That's probably will be the great intro to the next question regarding the teleports, but continue.
So that's kind of like what I was doing. But apart from that, I can't say there were many issues. And as I said, the guide is amazing because it was very well written, as they do in the Vue docs team. So it was very helpful, because all I had to do was just send that to the team, split the work. And now the thing is, we that's the thing again. We are kind of like special condition, because like we don't have deadline, when to finish the migration, and also the fact that everything is backward compatible, so you still can use some of the features, and it's not breaking your application. It's amazing, so it's definitely made, to not explode in your face.
Yeah, like in the some kind of main things, no, but yeah, the small things are breaking. Yeah, we still have some breaking changes, obviously.
Yes.
And the question regarding, continue. You first.
No, I was saying, because like that's again, I'm going back to the docs. You see the red thing breaking.
Yeah.
You don't have to change it. Yeah. But the thing is, we plan to do it gradually. So we started with the small application and see what happens. And the smaller application was very small, and was successful. I think that was more my selling point to the team.
That's probably the smartest way to do. Like, give a small piece, give it a taste. So the question regarding the teleports, it sounds like, what is the best what is the better way to use teleports feature in case when we have two models, one inside another? Is that even possible? I mean, this is a very rare case probably, but have you tried something like that?
Yes, I did try, and the way I'm doing it, I'm just passing them to the same target. Like I'm not sending it to like the teleport target, And this is also because some of the things that are happening in our CSS stuff.
So that's about the Z index probably, right? Like it's overlapping. Okay.
Yes. So, but I never tried to do like to teleport something in another teleport, but I'm not sure why it will not work because it's a component, right?
Absolutely.
And either way, you'll get the warning if not, or an error, because like again, the CLIs and everything are amazing.
But we are heading there, I guess. Like even now, like Vue has a great developer experience. So, with no doubt, yeah.
Going back to one of the questions, yes, definitely. I'm pretty sure lots of people are coming to for the developer experience too, and and I'm gonna say it again, but like I'm very thankful for how great the docs are, and I think this is also like a good thing in Vue community because they really care about you as a developer, right? Because you'll get all the resources you need in there. Like you don't have to pay money.
At all. I mean, like this
exactly.
is a crazy thing. And probably the last question here is how to migrate to Vue 3 if there is a lot of items in Vue ecosystem are in beta. Is it a good time to migrate now, or it's better to wait?
See, again, in my case, in prototypes, it's easier.
I see.
Because sometimes we don't, even now because of the whole Corona stuff, we don't have like the customers or anything, because you don't have events anymore to go and showcase your things, So in my case, I can migrate, as I said, I can migrate whatever. I'm already using the style variables in my project, which is like just RFC stage, So I don't think I'm the proper person to answer it. But what I will say, just looking, on how the management kind of works in our side, sometimes people do prefer to just wait a while, till they start migrating stuff.
That's also probably the good way.
And if you even look at the advice from the Vue core team, all the times they're saying you don't have to rewrite your things and you don't have to migrate and you don't have, not exactly migrate, but like, so keep saying like, don't rewrite your applications in composition APIs. Like you don't have to do it. So probably, that's, but this could be also like a good question for Ruben. I'm very curious to see his answer.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you very much, Ramona. It was great. Yeah.
Thank you, Vitaly, for your questions, and thank you, Ramona, for your answers. It was really a great conversation and a lot of questions. I just wanted to ask you to translate that Romanian phrase in our Discord chat. What does it mean? Like what?
The mulțumesc, it's thank you.
Yeah, that was really sweet. So,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Thanks. That was great to see it.
Yeah, we all want to thank you for your talk. Hope to see you in person.
Thank you too.